Before this video begins, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Alrighty, let's get into the drive. Hello and welcome. Today we are driving a 2023 Mazda CX-50 Turbo with the premium package. I would like to thank Flood Mazda in Wakefield, Rhode Island for allowing me to both review and test drive this CX-50. I would like to thank Turning Enthusiast for sponsoring this video. Turning Enthusiast apparel is essential for any car enthusiast to own. They offer clothing for both men and women in many different colors and designs. Turning Enthusiast also sells slap stickers to put anywhere and enjoy. They have sleek designs for all types of car owners. Two of my favorites are their Driven and Flatten the Curve t-shirts. Check out Turning Enthusiast and their products at the link in the description below. I did a full in-depth review with this car currently out on the channel, so make sure to go check that out. But I'll just do a quick spec run through and then we will get this out on the road. Alright, so this is finished in polymetal gray metallic with a terracotta leather interior. This is brand new and currently stickers for about $40,000. This is a compact SUV with 2 rows of seats and seating for 5. This has the upgraded engine choice, a 2.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, the same drivetrain from the Mazda CX-5, with 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. This is mated with a 6-speed shiftable automatic transmission. All CX-50s are all-wheel drive, including this one, and it does get 23 mpg city, 29 on the highway, and 25 combined. This rides on some massive 20-inch alloy wheels, and 245 tires all around. This has a towing capacity of 3,500 pounds. For safety, you get blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, lane departure alert with lane keep assist, emergency braking assist, and radar cruise control. You get 8.6 inches of ground clearance, which is about an inch more than a Mazda CX-5, and you do get 31.4 cubic feet of storage. And where the CX-50 sits in, it's just a little bit bigger and wider than a Mazda CX-5, Mazda's bestseller, and this is the more off-road focused vehicle with some different changes. With some changes related to that, including an LSD or limited slip differential. Alrighty, that'll about do it for the spec run through, so let's get this out on the road. Alright, so driving the CX-50. First off, you do get a head-up display in front of you, which is cool, so it gives you your speed. So that's pretty cool. Mazda puts that in a lot of their vehicles. You know, Mazdas are situated as definitely nicer vehicles within their price class, so they're pretty luxurious inside and out compared to some of their competitors. So for my very first impressions driving this so far, visibility is pretty good, but it does have a bit of a thick A-pillar. It's not all that thick in its width, but it kind of protrudes a little bit further than I would prefer. So that's a bit of just a small weak spot right there. But out back, it's pretty decent. Out the back rear window, it's not that great. They're pretty small windows with very thick C-pillars, but it's okay. And you do get blind spot monitoring, so that definitely helps you in that regard. As for the ride so far, it's actually very good. I'm currently just driving in normal mode. We'll try out sport mode in just a little bit with a 0 to 60. But overall, it's driving very, very well. So what they did for this, it's, you know, pretty similar size to a Mazda CX-50. It's just a little bit bigger and wider. But instead of basing this on a CX-5 platform, they actually based it on a Mazda CX-30 platform, which is a bit of a smaller car. So it's interesting. They did that, but they also squashed a little bit down the roofline. So it's actually, although it's a larger vehicle, it actually sits on a smaller platform, so that's pretty interesting. It gives it more of a squat appearance, as you can see on screen. I'll just put on a side view, and yeah, it's a nice squat appearance. I think it looks pretty good, and in my opinion, I think they made this look a lot like a Subaru, which is good because that's their target market for this type of stuff. They are looking for a more off-road type of presence for it, so they want buyers to be, you know, in that mindset. They want to take this on some light trails, some light off-roading, definitely more so than in a normal Mazda CX-5 you would be able to, and because of that, I think they did a very good job in the styling. However, one gripe I have with the exterior, it has some functional vents in the front, but it has fake vents in the rear. It's not that big a deal, but I just don't really like when manufacturers put too many fake vents, especially larger ones, as like a main design cue, because I just don't think it looks all that great once you realize they're fake. And I don't know, it's a common thing among manufacturers. I just don't like it as much, so that's a minor gripe on the exterior. Up top, you do get a dual panel panoramic sunroof in this model, so that's pretty cool. And that is, of course, going to be full power, tilt, and slide. And inside, you do get a 10.3-inch infotainment system, which is pretty large, actually, for a Mazda. And it comes with the Mazda controls, similar ones to BMW's iDrive, but Mazda's technology. So, works pretty well in there. You do get a digital gauge cluster, but you get actually analog speed, analog tachometer, and temperature and fuel gauges. So that's a little different than the CX-5. Some of those come with a full digital gauge cluster. And this has the turbo engine, so if you stomp on it a little bit, I'm only in normal, but it sounds pretty decent. Some of the audio may be pumped in, but it sounds pretty good. And overall, it's very torquey at low speeds. I haven't had to rev above about 3,000 RPM currently in just, I guess what you would call city driving. It's not been anything too bad. And with this being just a little bit larger than the CX-5, I just want to see how well it drives, because although it's a little bit longer, it's also wider and lower to the ground. Not on ground clearance, but the roof line. So I want to test just a little bit and see how the handling feels. And currently it feels like it does handle just a little bit bigger going into corners, but it's very tight still for what it is. This is still a compact SUV, but this thing drives pretty well going into corners. Very minimal body roll. And for steering feel, it's actually pretty tight. This is a little tighter than I was expecting, which is okay in this case. It's not overly tight, but if I do input into the wheel, it is pretty direct, and I'm only in normal mode. So let me change into sport mode. So you also get off-road mode in here, but if you go into sport, if you stomp on it, the car wants to get out of its own way. It instantly keeps your RPMs up, but then if you see I drop back down to normal, it'll shift down a gear right there back to like 1800 RPM. But back into sport, it kicks right up a gear. And you can definitely hear the turbo spool. I really like that. Yeah, that's pretty audible. I like it. Sounds good. And then for a couple of the other perks inside of here, you do get both heated and cooled seats with 3 levels for both the driver and passenger. So that's very good. And then all those safety features I listed before, it's a pretty complete package with an asking price around $40,000 when new. This is a pretty good value prop for a lot, because I think Mazda does very well on their minimal interiors. I think they do it best out of any brand right now. Audi might have some pretty good minimal interiors in certain vehicles, but I think Mazda is doing it best right now from what I have driven. As for road noise, it's actually very low. Wind noise is just a little bit louder than road noise, but both are pretty quiet. Let me just see what which is a bit louder. Besides engine noise when you're accelerating. It is a little bit of a loud engine when you're accelerating, but it quiets down below 3,000 RPM. Yeah, I would say wind noise is just a little bit louder than tire noise, but both of which are very quiet. It's hard to tell, so that's good. They did a very good job with sound deadening in here. And then, yeah, as for the steering feel, I really like this. It feels pretty tight, and there is some body roll heading into corners. It's not flat, but I think it handles, I don't know exactly between the CX-5 and the CX-50, because that's most of what this test drive is discussing, because the models are so similar, but also stacked up against one another. And for the braking feel in here, it's actually very, very confidence-inspiring. It feels like it has very strong brakes, which is nice right out of the gate. This isn't exactly a large car, but it is a SUV, and I like the braking feel. It feels very strong. And then overall, for the rest of this, it feels... And let's go into sport mode, come to a stop. We'll leave traction control on because it is cold, but we do have all-wheel drive, so let's stomp it and just see what we get for 0 to 60. Okay, there's 60. Yeah, so it's it might be a little slower than the CX-5, I think, but it pulls pretty well. It keeps its gear for a long time, which is nice. It doesn't even, I know it's only a 6-speed, but luckily it doesn't just drop gears on you. It doesn't just start going like into 4th or 5th gear when you know you need speed. In sport, it does retain its own gear pretty much as long as it can, which is a good thing. But then in the day-to-day, that's in normal mode. I just stomped it for a moment. It kicks right up to 4,500 RPM. So yeah, it's okay to drive actually whenever you need like passing power and such like that. It'll, you know, use all its power when available, whenever you need it. So I like that so far. But in normal driving, this transmission tuning, it shifts very smooth. You can feel it a tiny bit. It's not effortless, but it really is pretty quiet. And then your lane departure warning, as you can see up there, if I purposely go a little bit out of the lane, it'll light up and tell you which lane is flashing, which you're not inside of. So right in the head-up display, which is good. And it'll vibrate the wheel a little bit. So, you know, it's not too aggressive, but it does have a lane departure alert with lane keep assist as well. So it will interfere to some level when it needs to. Let's pop ourselves into sport mode. Yeah, and that's 60 right there. Not bad at all for entering a highway. And then you really hear this turbo spool. The engine does get a bit loud above 4,000 RPM, but you're very rarely going to be driving this over 4,000 RPM. So that's okay right there. And going about 57, it's actually really quiet in here. It really doesn't get any louder than it really had when I was back on small roads going like 20, 30. So I like that so far. It's actually very, very good at keeping both road noise and wind noise down, especially wind noise. I'm surprised. Even cars passing you, it's very, very quiet. I like both aspects of this, both the road noise and the wind noise very well. And these brakes feel very good. They're not overly touchy. They're very soft and, you know, easy to use, but they are really, really strong, really good at their job, of course. And then for some other aspects of this Mazda CX-50, for the interior, they added a couple different like chunky styling features, just in like the climate vents and some of the angles, so it does stand apart from a CX-5. They didn't exactly take a CX-5 interior and just plop it into this. Luckily, they actually kept both the interior and the exterior, you know, able to tell them apart between the two models. So that's very good. But there are two gripes I have with the interior in here, one of which is for the driver's knee and the passenger knee. Right here, it's not going to be padded. I wish that were padded. Right down here, it's hard plastic. And then also for hard plastic, as you can see on the side here, I'll put a clip of the door on screen. For the driver's door, it has a very nice upper area with the different pieces of leather, different contrast stitching, all that type of stuff. Looks very nice. And a splash of chrome as well. But in the rear, they actually just kept it to hard plastic for the whole top portion of the door. So I wish they had kept it a little bit nicer back there, even for maybe another $500 or something onto the price. It's a bit apparent where they chose to cheap out just right there to save some money. But overall, this interior is very upscale compared to, you know, a similar Toyota or a Honda within the class. I think Mazda definitely stands apart in most of their models within their price range for what they offer. You really don't feel like you're in any kind of an economy car, because Mazdas are still basically an economy car in the class ranking, but they feel like more entry-level luxury cars. So I think they do a very good job in that regard. Alrighty, that'll just about wrap up this test drive of a 2023 Mazda CX-50 Turbo with the premium package. I would once again like to thank Flood Mazda in Wakefield, Rhode Island, for allowing me to both review and test drive this Mazda. For a more in-depth review of all its features and interior and exterior details, make sure to go back on the channel and check that out. As always, thank you very much for watching, drive with passion, and take care.